everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Inside the Pigskin. My name is Scott Morgan Roth, your host of Motor City Badmouth. Glad to have Marvin Powell, Tom Shanahan, Melford Jr., and Candy Embley in the house. Glad to have everybody tonight. I have a loaded show. If you're looking to prepare for the NFL draft, I have a lot to talk about. Get those pencils and papers or pens and papers, whatever they use these days, or iPads. I don't know. Just take this information down. There's a lot to digest. With that said, we'll have a couple of sound bites as well. All right, so let's get started. A lot to talk about tonight. Let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes that actually went out there and had an opportunity to go to the combine themselves. I'll list them all in order. They have Jacoby Thomas, Keontae Scott, Akeem Mesidor, Francis Mauiagwa, CJ Daniels, Inez Cooper, Wesley Basante, Markel Bell, Carson Beck, Reuben Bain Jr. All right, Marvin, we're going to make it easy. I gave you 10 of them. Which names do you think you might be seeing called early of that group?
Yeah, I think you listed off Bain and then the other defensive end, Malaga. Those, to me, are the two top guys. And, outside of Bain, who's the concern for Bain I've been hearing is his reach, his arm length. Apparently, NFL scouts frown on people who have pass rushers who have arm length less than 32 inches. I think he's at 30, and you don't find many elite defensive ends with such short arms. And I can get that. I understand that. These tackles, are 6'5" and above. They got super long arms. If a guy has longer arms that can punch you and reach you first, he controls you. That's a big deal. So, it'd be interesting to see how this guy evolves, how Bain evolves, but and how he does in the league. But yeah, Bain and the other end are the two guys that I really are looking at to have impact in the draft, get picked up pretty early, and I expect them to have good careers.
Okay, great stuff, Marvin. All right, Tommy, what do you think? Which of this group of 10, which ones do you think are going to have the most impact?
Yeah, I thought Bain was such a dominant player in college. I don't know what to say about his arm length, but I know that factors heavily into the draft. Magua would be the guy that I'd also agree with Marvin on. It should be highly ranked. Magua is a guy from American Samoa. And it just shows you Samoans are across the map in America. There's just so many of them playing football.
Okay. No.
Yeah, I think if you would have thought, if you asked before the season, obviously Carson Beck's name would have been up there before the season started. But yeah, definitely those two defensive ends, the pass rushers, those are the guys that you look to come off the board early. They had a huge impact in their season, and why they were as ranked as high as they were, and why they played as well as they did. And I think you'll probably hear those names come off the board pretty quickly.
All right, Candy.
I'm going to give you, Reuben Bain Jr. I'm going to give you Akeem Mesidor. I'm also going to give you Markel Bell and Francis Magoa. All four of them, I think, are going to have significant impact.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm giving you a soundbite of Markel Bell. How about that? First soundbite of the night goes to Markel Bell. I had an opportunity at the Senior Bowl to talk to him. I want everybody to listen to it in its entirety and give me your thoughts about Markel when it's said and done. Go ahead, Candy.
All right, start now. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Motor City Madmouth Show. I am pleased to be joined by somebody I've seen play all year, Markel Bell. First of all, I'm surprised you don't play basketball, 6'9".
Yeah, man, I just enjoy playing football.
So tell me, obviously, quite a year that the Canes actually had. You made it all the way to the college football playoff. Tell me what 2025 was like for you, obviously, as you've developed as a prospect.
Yeah, man, it was just an amazing season, just team-wise. We had a lot of chemistry, a lot of brotherhood going on, man, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I'd trade anything in the world to huddle with them guys one more time. But, man, I'm just proud of them guys around me, and I'm just proud of myself, too, for just making it that far, too, as well.
Yeah, what was it like, obviously, protecting Carson Beck?
I mean, I told myself, man, I don't care who back there, man. Carson got the job done. Man. He's an elite leader, elite teammate, elite person as well too. So man, it was lovely just blocking for him.
You know, I know Miami went in as the number 10 seed. And do you feel that you guys were on house money going in there because nobody expected you to get in, and all of a sudden you beat Texas A&M, you beat Ohio State, you beat Ole Miss, and before you know it, you're back at Hard Rock.
Yeah, man. I said before, man. After we lost to SMU, they dug our grave up already, and they were counting us out, man. And we had a team meeting, and like I said before, man, we're gonna run straight through adversity. We're gonna run from it, and it took a brotherhood, it took a village to get that done.
How much did you enjoy playing for Mario Cristobal?
Man, I love all them coaches up there, man. They took a chance on me. They believed in me. They invested their time in me, and man, it paid off.
So tell me a little bit about your Senior Bowl experience so far. What's it been like? Obviously, there's a lot of coaches and scouts all over the place, and now you have a chance to go out there and talk and try to make an impression.
Yeah, man. It's been a busy day. Most definitely been a busy day. A couple of days, and I'm just happy out here playing football again. I know I just came off a national championship. And people ask me how my body feels. I'm telling them I'm feeling good, man. I'm blessed. I'm out here playing football. I'm doing what I love, so I can't complain.
Was Indiana that good, or do you feel like you guys were really that close to pulling it off?
Both. I feel like they were really good. They were good. They were well coached. They were good. They were the least penalized team in the conference. I mean, in the whole college football era. So, man, they were really well coached. They're really good too.
All right, one or two more questions before I get you out of here. Number one, I know a lot of players are trying to transfer and get 6-7 years, but you seem like you're one of those guys where you go with what you have and then just take a shot at the pros. Do you think some guys are staying too long and not taking a shot at the pros?
I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I just go by this saying, man, you know what you got, but you don't know what you're getting. And I knew what I had, and I didn't know what I was gonna get. So, man, I knew I was confident in myself and my play right now, and I was confident that I was gonna be successful in the pros.
So what do you want people to know about Markel Bell as you begin your pro career, about your strengths, your weaknesses, and your work ethic?
Man, that I work hard, and I'm a dog on the field, and I'm getting my job done. I'm do my job.
Well, I'll be pulling for you hard, and I'm glad to be able to catch up with you here at the Senior Bowl. So I'll keep up the great work, and proud of the opportunity I had a chance to go out there and see you play for the Miami Hurricanes. I get to talk to him in Montgomery, Alabama. All too good, isn't it? Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yes,
Okay, Marvin, you're first. Some thoughts about Mr. Bell.
Listen, if I was an NFL team GM, I love what I saw. I do. I loved his attitude. Very positive. I love the way he talked about the game, playing the game he loves. I loved how he talked about his teammates, says a lot. Tremendous emotional intelligence, and that he's coming off a significant loss. I mean, he might play 15 years in the NFL and never play in a game as big as a national championship. That's the reality of it. So, for him to have the perspective of gratitude that he has, I commend him for that. It's obvious that Cristobal has really done a great job with these guys. He's gotten into their heads, saying the right things, thinking the right way. And that guy's a high impact player. So between his play on the field and just the way he presents himself, again, I just see this kid being successful. So I thought it was a good interview. I really appreciated his feedback and just his perspective, as it's one of gratitude, which I think in today's age with a lot of these athletes and what you're seeing and hearing, it's something that you want to hear, really from everybody, but people, we put, athletes up there. So yeah, I'm happy that he has the perspective that he has. I thought that was a good interview.
Thanks for the kind words, Marvin. Much appreciated. Okay. Really. All right, Tommy, some thoughts about what Markel had to say.
Yeah, he was impressive with what he had to say, but also his physique, 6'9", 346, but he didn't look like he was overweight at all. In fact, his legs look kind of thin for that kind of weight. I don't know if that's a factor for an offensive lineman, but I see he was third team all ACC, so I'm guessing the guy is just now growing into his body. and his potential is all in front of him. And like Marvin says, he has the potential to have a long NFL career.
Mel.
Yeah, sounds like he was on a job interview, did a very good job, represented himself very well. And, again, he's not going to offend anyone with those comments. He's not going to all of a sudden be off of a list of any team because of his comments. He's a very humble young man, but at the same time, he has a fire burning inside of him. He's confident in himself and his abilities. He's not cocky. He knows what he's capable of doing, and all he wants is an opportunity to go out there and show what he does. So, there's 32 teams out there. Not one team has probably crossed him off their list.
I'll tell you what. No, you nailed it there. Well, if you're looking at a job interview, he's acting like this. Who wouldn't have him on their draft board? You look for this kind of character when you go to the draft. Instead of some of the guys, you wonder if they're going to pan out or not because they don't quite this. Markel Bell to me, when I spoke to him during that period of time, nailed it in many, many different areas, and I tried to approach him on a lot of different areas as well. Candy, you were there. You watched exactly how that interview transpired. Go ahead. Give me some thoughts.
Bell is he was very well spoken. He was very appreciative of to give you guys a context of this, where this interview took place. After practice, you have 10 minutes to sit there and do a fire drill of asking questions of different players. So here we are on the field, quick rushing, trying to find, him to talk to, and then getting, this couple minutes in this interview. I thought he did remarkably well, considering, he wasn't prepped really for it. He just knew that people could come and talk to him, and he played really well on the field. To give you guys a little context, he actually played at Holmes Community College in 2022 and 2023. He was ranked as the #1 offensive tackle junior college transfer in 2023, and that's when he transferred to the University of Miami. He played 12 games his first year and started 5, and then he returned to Miami in 2025 as a full-time starter at left tackle. I only see big things for him. Not only is he big in stature and built, but I think he'll do well as an offensive lineman in the NFL.
See, under this format, how many times have everybody here heard me utilize the word rapid fire? I'm sure you heard me use it a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Take that and add speed dating to it, and then you really find yourself as a person like me under fire to get as much out in a shorter period of time. I'll tell you one thing it does do for me, and I was actually playing with TikTok today because, I want to play with this stuff and put some of this stuff. I don't know anything about it. When you have a little extra time, you're just messing with stuff. Who knows how some of this stuff's going to get up there? But reality is you got to get as much out as you can. You know what I'm saying? And if you can do that, then you're able to evaluate it. I don't know if anybody, you guys like, or gal as well, like mock drafts. They can take them and flush them down the toilet. This is the hard-nosed stuff I want to find out about. And character references like you see with Markel, and we'll have another one a little later, are what you're trying to get out of a player, because that's a job interview. This guy, I don't know if I was giving him a job interview, but I was giving him an interview. And that's where he passed in flying colors. We all know what he did with the Miami Hurricanes. They breed pro players big time, and you have another one there. Well, let's talk about two guys that didn't get to the combine, but boy, they had chips on their shoulder, named James Brockermeyer and Keelan Marion. Marvin, some thoughts about those two guys?
Yeah, it's you could be a good player and not go to the combine. That's just what it is. I didn't go to the combine. I still made an NFL roster. So it's where you want to be, because it's it's the top 300 players based on what the GMs and teams want. You'll see guys out there who are 4-year players, guys who put up numbers, but for whatever reason, they just don't get invited. So these are situations where those guys are going to have to take advantage of their pro day. For those who don't know, your pro day is basically the combine at your school, and they do the same drills, the same testing, the same type of deal. And that's going to be your last opportunity to leave an impression with these NFL teams. So yeah, it sucks to be a notable player who doesn't go, but that means nothing in regards to your chance to play in NFL or make a roster. Your biggest thing is just going to be getting into training camp, period, and then from there showing what you can do. So yeah, it's all good, man. There's still opportunity out there.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't think it makes it's that big of a deal not to get invited to the combine. It's kind of like a lot of times in college, you see the lightly recruited guys become a better player than the 4-star guy. The one thing I do want to add, though, I mentioned that Markel Bell was third team all ACC. You have to weigh that a little bit different nowadays with these 16 and 18 team conferences. Used to be there might be some separation between first team all conference and second and third. But when you have 18 teams or 16 teams, I forget what the ACC is, third team is a lot closer to first team than it was in the old days.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, Mel.
I'm trying to figure out his logic there, but okay.
Well, there's just so many more good players to pick from. I think specifically about the Big Ten basketball this season, there were 7-8 great point guards. You tell me this, so like the guy at Ohio State, Bruce Thornton, if he's 6-team all Big Ten, you don't want him on your team? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, even the kid from UCLA, the kid that transferred from or wherever it was. I mean, he played. There was some guard play. One thing, and we'll get on that another time. But as far, I think you asked a question about the combine. Is that what you're asking, Scott? You're asking about getting an invite to the combine?
Yeah, there's two guys did get invited. Jade Brockermeyer, and the other one was Keelan Marion. They were stops.
Brockermeyer, didn't you interview him? Did you interview him?
Yeah, I interviewed him. We had him, I think, on before, but I'm just looking at the overall aspect of the fact that he didn't get invited.
Yeah, and I can, there's a couple of theories of thought there. I can tell you that, as a kid growing up, my dream was to play professional football. Right. And I knew in order to play professional football, I had to play big time college football. And so that was going to be, D1 college football. Again, when you're in college, if you want to play professional football, you need to get the easier route to go is to get an invite to the combine. And that was very important to me to get an invite to the combine. I've seen guys in years before me, they get invites to the combine. You get an invite to the combine, you're more than likely going to get drafted. That means you're on the NFL's radar. So that was a big deal for me. Now, can you still go to the league and not have an invite to the combine? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that can happen. But the more direct route is to get an invite to the combine. So, they shouldn't hang their heads. The Brockermeyer guy we talked about, I think he had, family that played, right? His dad or somebody played or something like that. So I believe, like Marvin and myself, when you have that last name, you're going to get a look. You'll get a look. And, whatever you want to say, nepotism, favoritism, whatever it is you want to say, but there also comes a lot of pressure as well by having not only that last name, but having that first name as well. Being the junior or being the third, there's a lot of pressure that comes with that as well. So he'll get an opportunity, and a lot of those guys will get an opportunity. They might get opportunities to go to mini camp or something like that, get mini camp invites and get an opportunity to prove that they can, deserve an opportunity. But it's much harder, when you have to prove that you can play versus proving that you can't play.
Well, the bottom line, you got a chip on his shoulder. These two guys are mad. We get a chance to go to the combine, right? So we got to bank on our pro day. And guess what? Miami Hurricanes pro day is Candy, 23rd? We're going. So we'll see him there.
Mel, who's that future Spartan next to you there waving to us?
That's a Bruin. That's all day long. 4's up. That's a Bruin. That's my grandson.
There you go. All right, Candy, take us home with this topic.
Candy and Scott remember when he was a baby. A baby.
Who, me?
Mm-hmm.
There have been 3 first-round picks who were not invited to the combine. defensive end Aaron Jones in 88, defensive tackle Eric Swan in 91, and cornerback Darian Gordon in 1993. There are currently 11 players playing in the NFL who did not get invited to the combine. So it is definitely possible. Obviously, you want to go through the combine, but you don't have to. So these players, they can still make it. You just never know. It depends on the need for the teams that are drafting when their name comes up.
Ken, you said there are only 11 players in the NFL who weren't invited to the combine?
That's 11 current.
Huh?
According to the NFL.com, there are 11 current NFL players who weren't invited to the combine.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of kids, there's a lot of people that get invited to the combine that don't get drafted. Now, Eric Swan, I don't think he went to college. I think he came out of a JC.
He was a JUCO guy.
Right, he came out of JC.
Yeah, he did. I remember that. Defensive lineman.
There was 319 prospects at this year's combine. So, to give you an idea.
Okay, well, I feel even more rare company then. I would have thought there was way more than that.
Yeah.
That's.
Oh, you didn't go to the combine, Marvin?
Nah, I made it from the bottom, Mel. I made it from the
You
bottom.
made it from the bottom. Yeah, you made it from the bottom. Hey, I take my hat off to you.
Yeah, as a nepo baby, as you say, from the bottom.
You were gonna get a shot. There's nothing wrong with that. I ain't mad at you.
Nah, bro. Listen, I made it by putting dudes on their back. Believe that. And I really did that. So, but I'm sure being the last name doesn't hurt.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I like it. I like I like everybody's opinions all over the place. I really do. That's great stuff. All right. Well, you know what? One of the topics, everybody, when they looked at the first one, they were wondering, why are we jabbing at Sean Payton? I mean, what is he talking about, right? I know everybody's wondering. Tell you what, I'm going to set it up this way. There was a report that Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton texted Max Crosby offering to pay for a one-way private plane flight to see Baltimore and saying he was happy to see him out of the division. Oh, my goodness.
Scott, I missed the first part of that. I'm sorry. I didn't hear the first part.
That's okay. I'll repeat it. I'll do it again. Maybe I was talking too fast. And again, I've heard it 9 million times so far. Well, I'll try it again. Second time will be the charm. Okay, Marvin. All right. There was a report that Denver Broncos head coach Sean Payton texted people, Max Crosby, offering to pay for a one-way private plane flight to see Baltimore and saying he was happy to see him out of the division. But in the eyes of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. LOL. Marvin, my goodness. Did Sean Payton have to eat up some words or what?
Listen, at the end of the day, it's in the NFL, if you have a pass rush, then you are a serious threat to every team you play. And even if the Raiders haven't been great, Max Crosby has been. And as Sean Payton is trying to get to the Super Bowl, he wants all those great pass rushers and great players out of his division. I get that. The AFC West is tough, man. The Raiders, the Chargers, but Denver. That's a tough division, man. And if he was able to get Max out, that would have made a difference. That would have had an impact on all those division games. So having Max fail the physical, which is something that you don't see that a lot.
We're going to get to that in a moment, but go ahead, complete your thought. But okay, finish it.
Yeah, we don't see that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, whether in jest or, being serious, when that initial trade went down, Sean was happy as heck, boy. He was doing his happy dance. When that thing fell through, man, back to the bottle. You know what I mean? So
boy, Marvin, you're back on track. That's okay. I'm proud of you. Good recovery. Did good. I'm going to get to it. GMTA, Marvin. What does that stand for? I'm just trying to see what you retained. And South Florida Tribune lingo. What does GMT stand for, Marvin?
Oh, I missed what you just. Yeah.
GMTA, Marvin. Oh, I'm having a bad one. This is it.
Great mind think alike.
Oh, thank God he saved a heart attack. Come on, Paul. You can do better than that. Really? Seriously, really? Great mind think alike.
He went to USC. You can't expect him to know that. He went to USC. They didn't go to class.
That's right. He went to USC. I'm piling on this time. All right, Tommy. Help me out with this guy. He doesn't even get the acronyms right. Marvin. Oh, well. I'll put you back on the sports exchange and make you talk politics again if you go out there and get it wrong the next time. Okay. No, I'm going to be talking football. Just busting his chops. I think I like Marvin. Okay, Tommy. Sean Payton. Oh, my God. Did he ever eat his words, didn't he?
You want me to comment? Yeah, seems like a logical comment for him to make. I don't know who he made it to. His own friends. Yeah, if you don't want to have a guy like Max Crosby have to play against him twice. Right. So I don't see anything wrong with that. If it was in humor or seriousness, it seems it's understandable. It kind of reminds me of the old joke. This is going way back. When Tommy Lasorda was the manager of the Dodgers, and the Padres had a journeyman guy named Kurt Bavacqua that would get hot once in a while. And Lasorda was never a great major league pitcher. He had a very brief league career, and he was always taking shots at Bavacqua, and Bavacqua would take shots at Lasorda. And Lasorda once said, Kurt Bavacqua was the kind of guy that I would send a car to the hotel to make sure he gets to the ballpark.
Funny anytime you bring it.
So same kind of thought.
I know Tommy all too well. I like when you bring references of him because chances are you're all too right about it anyways. All right, Mel. Save your LA buddy here. Mel?
I'm sorry, my internet's acting up a little bit.
That's okay, no problem. Let's just go back to Sean Payton. Glad to get him out. That's what he thought.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get a good player out of your division, it makes your path a little bit easier. You would applaud that. I don't feel a certain way about him doing that. I think he did it in jest, tongue in cheek, but he meant it. Trust and believe he meant it, and I'm sure he's not real happy about him being back in the division. When you look at, Kansas City's been the king of the division for many, many, many years. The Raiders are, we're thinking the Raiders are going to be better this year. We know that the Chargers are going to be good. So that division is tough. It's stacked. So anytime you can, and the Raiders aren't really a whole lot of competition, but you just get have one less pass rusher out of your division, but he would still have to face him at some point in time because he got traded within the. So it's kind of does in another. You won't have to see him twice a year. Probably have to see him at least once.
All right, Candy.
So it was Fox Sports' Jay Glazer, who was a friend and former colleague of Sean Payton. He had a text exchange with Payton, and Payton was talking about how he texted Max and was saying he offered to pay for the private plane one way out. But he also added he's an inspiration to watch and to compete against. But he also said that Payton has long raved about how Crosby never slows down during games. So it's always hard to compete against him. So I can see where he would want him out of the division. I can say there has been some players, as a Packer fan that, Ndamukong Suh, we wanted gone out of Detroit. But yet here he was, so I get it. So.
Ndamukong Suh. I knew I was waiting for you to bring it in. Of course, it doesn't help when he steps on your quarterback on Thanksgiving either. That's why you want to get him out of there. Good point, though, Candy. I love that one. All right, well, let's go to the logistics of the Crosby situation because obviously the guy didn't pass the physical per Diana Rossini, but Baltimore did get its 2 first-round picks back, and now Crosby once again is a Raider. So, all right, Marvin, let's go back on that. He is a Raider. It looks like he can go in anywhere. What are your thoughts about the fact that, he is Sean's division. He is a Raider, and now they have him in their budget, and he's got to recover. All right, Marvin, you can continue there.
Yeah, listen, at the end of the day, the people who should be happy about this, number one, Fernando Mendoza, because the Raiders are going to draft him with the first overall pick. That guy needs as much help and support as he can get. Max Crosby will provide more offensive opportunities with sacks and turnovers as he does. And, this when you look at the building blocks of an NFL team, you're talking about a left tackle, a corner, pass rusher, quarterback. This is like the main part of how you build a team. And Max obviously fills one of those voids. He's an elite player. He has been for years. This guy has been in the league for a while, but he has plenty of gas in the tank. I have no worries about that injury. I think that I don't know if that was a real injury situation. My heart tells me that the Ravens just changed their mind. But anyway, this is listen, this is good for the young Raiders, for the young players in the Raiders who need help, and in particular for their new head coach, who I can't think of right now. But having Max Crosby on your team, no matter how it happens, is going to be a good thing. Period.
I agree. Okay, Tommy.
Well, what's different about this situation is they have a new coach. If here's going back to the old coach in the old locker room, it might be a problem. But Clint Kubiak's taken over. There's a clean slate for him if he can get healthy. Staying with the Raiders would be good for him, and not so good for Sean Payton.
Right, exactly. Let's spin that narrative around and twist Payton and Sean Payton. All right, Mel. Mel, internet working. Sean Payton.
I'm sorry, you're asking. What was the question again about Sean Payton? I talked about him.
Yeah, already did. So we're talking about the fact that Max Crosby is back, and Baltimore got their 2 first-round picks back. So that's how it ended up playing out when it was all said and done. Some thoughts.
Are you talking about the failed trade?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I look at that a couple different ways. Really, I think it was buyer's remorse. That's what I think. I think they gave up a lot. I think they gave up a lot for him. I don't know why. The kid from Cincinnati was available at the beginning of free agency. I don't know why they felt the need to make a huge splash, not a small splash, but a huge splash, like go out and get Max Crosby. Granted, he's a great player, but for what you have to give up to get him, and then what you have to pay, that paid him a lot. And so I think, he went to sleep on it, and there was a way that he could get out, and he exercised that out, and they made the smart decision by paying Henderson. I think that's the smart move. You gave up no draft capital, and you still have a favorable pass rush. Now, they say they wanted to pair Henderson with Crosby. I don't believe that. I think they're just saying that to save face, but I believe that they had buyer's remorse.
You know what, Mel, you just hit a bullseye with that comment. You really, really did. The word buyer's remorse is exactly what happened with the Ravens, and they took some heat over it for sure. And I couldn't agree with you more with the buyer's remorse. Great stuff, Mel. All right, Candy.
I'm going to take I'm going to go with Crosby's viewpoint. And he said it was one of the most unique, crazy, wild, and up and down roller coasters he's ever been a part of. He was flown to D.C. They flew him first class to D.C. because it was the only straight through. And then they had to drive 2 hours to get up to Baltimore. These meetings usually consist of a meet and greet with the team's brass and a physical to confirm nothing is wrong with the player, then the official signing. When it got weird was that neither Ravens head coach Jesse Minter nor Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta met with Crosby for the first 5 hours of the meeting. Once Crosby did step in the room with Minter and DeCosta in the next room, he sensed something was wrong. Minter gave him the bad news. You could tell the energy was just off. And he said, "Man, I don't know how to say this, but one of our doctors has concerns with the results with your knee. Some of them are concerned about the future. We really want you, and this is what it is, but we're going to have to get more and more opinions." So from Crosby's standpoint of view, that would be kind of, 5 hours you sit there and talk with people, and only for them to come in and say that. Baltimore definitely buyer's remorse, didn't want to give up as much as they did. I feel bad for Crosby because that's just a sad situation. But the fallout is there's a lot of people don't want to deal with Baltimore now and their GM.
That's it too. Yeah, that's a bad rap on Baltimore. They deserve every bit of it. Let's go back to something we talked about last week. Garrett Nussmeier turned out to be the 2026 Senior Bowl MVP. Went 5 of 8, 60 yards and a touchdown. So now that we had a chance to digest Garrett Nussmeier, Marvin, what are your thoughts about him, and what type of a prospect is he in college?
Yeah, I liked him a lot. Again, I saw him play against USC. I thought he played really tough in that game. That was really the only game I ever saw him play, but I saw him play a full game. I know that he could have came out last year, which says a lot about his talent, and it says a lot about how teams view him. He's the son of a coach, so he's a guy who benefits from firsthand information. He understands how the NFL thinks from the inside. His dad being a quarterback coach obviously has helped him get to this point, and I'm someone I root for these kids in these situations, the sons of former players, the sons of coaches, because as Mel had said earlier, for as much as there's a benefit, and there's definitely a benefit, especially when it comes to like awareness, it is pressure. I mean, the expectations, people think it's automatic that you're gonna make it and do it and just move along to the next level, and and it's that's a lot, and people don't understand our perspective, man, but it's a very real thing. I think that pressure is a good thing. I think that for him having a dad who's coaching in NFL, that's a good thing. But I think this guy's responded really well to that pressure. I think everything I've heard about him has been positive. The interview that you showed us in the last show, was good. I liked what I saw from him there. So. Yeah, he had a good Senior Bowl. They played a bunch of quarterbacks, 5 for 8, 50 yards, a touchdown. That's what you want. That's the kind of day you want, considering you ain't going to be able to sling it 25, 30 times. So, yeah, I like this kid. I think he's a guy who could do well in the NFL. And I don't know what he's projected to go in the draft. I would think he's a second, third round pick, I would think. Right. But we'll see. I like him, though. I think he's a good pro. I think he'll be a good pro.
Marvin, I think you slot him pretty good second or third round pick. And anytime you have good numbers at the Senior Bowl and you have a lot of people watching you in game action, I value the Senior Bowl more than the what do you call it? The combine, because obviously you're getting real time reps and you're going against another opponent. Where what do you do? As Dan Campbell say, all you're doing is in shorts. So what's the difference if you're watching these guys in shorts versus all the gear, Marvin? I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying.
You're absolutely right. I mean, to me, the combine is useless. If you want to know about a guy, you watch the film, you interview him, and you talk to the coaches and his teammates, and that's it. I mean, to put these guys in they tighty whities, have them run around in the 40, the vertical, the shuttle. I understand those drills, but that's not football. That's not football at all. I mean, you got dudes out there, I bet, who haven't done well in the combine, but don't have those measurables, but they can play the game. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I think people overdo the combine. The Senior Bowl is at least real football.
Exactly.
It's real football, real drills. And I think you get a lot more out of that than the combine, in my opinion.
I totally agree, Marvin. And I'll say GMT, great minds think alike. You won't be quizzed on it this second. Okay, there you go. Because by now I've drilled it in your head, anyways. All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about Garrett Nussmeier and his performance?
Yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about his chances of making it in the NFL because he just seems so motivated. Not only motivated, but he understands that there's question marks about him because of LSU's disappointing season. And he's just not taking anything for granted. He knows he's got to overcome some of those, being knocked down a peg or two, and that he's got to work his way back up and earn everything. So I think he's going to be okay.
No.
LSU was just kind of a dysfunctional season last year, and it's not necessarily his fault. And he's moved on from it. I think that's the most important thing. He's moved on from it.
Well, sure. That's what he told me when I talked to him out there in Mobile, for sure. He moved on. It was a tough year under Brian Kelly and then the interim that followed. But this is the type of thing where put it all behind you, do what you got to do in your off season, land the team, and hopefully you ran not only a team, how about the right situation? Okay, Mel.
Yeah, I think we talked about Garrett a few weeks ago, and he interviewed real well. Had a real good interview up at the podium, talking to the media. Beginning of the year, this guy expected to be a first-round pick. Things didn't go that well, but he's going to get an opportunity. all he should want. And what I like about him is he has a lot of college snaps under his belt. That's good for him because he's not developing anybody anymore. So at least he's going to have a lot of snaps. There are a lot of teams that do need a quarterback. It's a quarterback needy league right now. So hopefully he'll get an opportunity. Somebody will be patient with it, and we'll see what happens. I mean, worst case scenario, he can have a great career as a backup.
Okay. Candy.
Due to his father, Doug's career as a football coach, he moved 12 times growing up, lived in 8 different states and in Canada. When he attended high school in his junior year, he passed for over 3,788 yards and 38 touchdowns in his junior year. He committed to playing college football at LSU over offers from Texas, Texas A&M, Miami, Georgia, Baylor, and North Carolina. Those are good teams that he turned down to play at LSU. And as far as this year goes, yes, he did. He had a better year. Previous year, he had over 4,000 yards passing the previous year. But this year, he was also dealing with an abdominal injury that had been affecting him all year. And it actually, they removed him and he got benched before the Arkansas game because of it. So I don't think you can put all the stats on this year and rely solely on them. I think he will have a good career in the NFL. He obviously has the pedigree and a coach in his dad to help coach him as well. So,
Right.
Can't hurt.
Okay, well, we'll stay with the college narrative for 1 minute, then we'll shift over to the pros. And from a different source, College Football Alerts, let's talk about the biggest winners at the Senior Bowl. And they consist of kicker Drew Stevens out of Iowa. Then you have safety Deshaun Singleton out of Nebraska, cornerback Fred Davis out of Northwestern, offensive lineman Max Knocker, who we did speak about last week, out of Arizona State. Rayshawn Benny, you heard that interview last week, right? Well, guess what? This source feels he's one of the ones that came out of it looking good. An edge, Kieran Crawford out of Auburn, linebacker Bryce Boettcher out of Oregon. And we talked about Garrett Nussmeier. No need to go further on that. Running back Jaden Ott out of Oklahoma. Wide receiver Malik Fields out of Notre Dame. And tight end Justin Jolly out of North Carolina State. Okay, Marvin, we'll start off with you again, my friend. Any thoughts about this list? Who stands out?
Yeah, Malachi Fields, receiver out of Notre Dame. Again, I saw him play against my Trojans this year. Good player. He'll play in the league. You mentioned the linebacker from Oregon, Boettcher. Yeah,
right.
I saw him play as well. Outstanding player. These guys will play in the National Football League. Boettcher and Fields play at elite universities. They're standout players within. Well, Notre Dame's not in the conference, but they're standout players without question across the country. And while I don't know that either one of those guys is a first rounder, I do believe that they'll make a roster. Of the group that you mentioned, I don't notice any major stars like big names. Malachi Fields from Notre Dame is probably the biggest one. So yeah, I mean, he's somebody who I'd be looking at and who I think is going to end up going day 2, day 3.
That's fair. Okay, Tommy.
You mentioned Drew Stevens, Iowa, the kicker.
Yeah.
He's a guy that I would put a lot of money on to have a good NFL career. I saw Notre Dame play enough times that Malachi Fields was a very good player. I would expect a lot out of him too.
Okay. Mel?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. A lot of those names on that list I didn't really follow, so it'd be very difficult for me to say one person over another. It was studying it. It'd just be a guess off the top of my head because I really didn't pay much attention to any of those guys. So I think I'd be doing those gentlemen a disservice if I was to speak ill of anyone or speak in the positive about anyone.
Okay, Candy.
Yeah, I have to say Malachi Fields really some of the catches that he had at the Senior Bowl and at practice really stood out to me. So I think he's really going to be a young stud going into the NFL.
See, I like Fields, but I'm not going to sell my man Bryce Boettcher short. And guess what, Candy? You're going to put him out there, and I had an opportunity to talk to Bryce as well, Marvin. So this ought to go ahead and lighten you up, Paul, here after what I had to say to Mr. Boettcher. Go ahead, Candace.
Everybody, welcome to another edition of the Motor City Mad Mouse Show. I'm here with Bryce Boettcher. Pleasure, glad to have you on.
No, I appreciate it.
So let's talk about it. You're the Oregon Ducks. You're in the Big Ten. How's it feel to be in the Big Ten? You know, where for a while back that Oregon was obviously in the Pac-12 playing all these schools.
Yeah, it's good, man. I mean, obviously, I miss the Pac-12. I grew up a Pac-12 fan, but, you know, the Big Ten's awesome. They got some great teams.
All right, so let's talk about your experience in the college football playoff.
You know, I was obviously a couple of great games. Wish we would have ended on a better note, but, you know, it is what it is.
And finally, what are you looking to get out of this Senior Bowl experience, and how do you feel that what your draft prospects look like?
Yeah, just to, you know, become a better player, you know, gain knowledge from these coaches and all the great players here. And, you know, I'm looking forward to doing more tomorrow.
And Dan Lanning, what has he done to help your career out?
You know, he's a cerebral meathead. He's super intelligent, has grown my game tremendously.
And how do you feel about the USC Trojans? Do you like them or not? Marvin Powell III's on, so he needs to know how Oregon people feel about it.
I don't like the Trojans, but I don't like any team other than the Ducks. So
there you go.
Ducks.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Well, Marvin, don't think I didn't have you on my mind, brother. All right, so talk about the interview with him.
I see you did, Scott.
Yeah,
I don't know if I should appreciate the shout out or thank you for giving me another hater. I don't know. It's kind of, you know what I mean? But
well, sleep on it because I don't sleep anyway.
If that goes viral, I'm a part of it, so it's all good.
Well, I'll tell you, Candy, I'll tell you, we're getting pretty good numbers on the shorts, aren't we, with this guy? I don't know, Marvin. Come on. Can't say I don't have Marvin Powell III on my mind. Otherwise, you think I popped the question there, right, man?
There you go. All right. No, that was great, man. Listen, I loved his response. Again, I love to see young people or just people who are successful show gratitude, have a spirit of gratitude. And he definitely had that. He was thankful for his coach and, just the Oregon program. And I could respect that. I do. I respect that, especially in this transfer portal era where these kids, I don't think, have any loyalty to the schools. He spoke with a certain amount of school pride, which I love to hear. And, I think he's a player. I like him a lot. I do. And he'll have an NFL career.
Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won the Bullsworth Trophy, which goes to the nation's best walk-on player. And I think, I don't have the facts on it, but I think they have a pretty good track record of their recipients sticking with NFL teams. But whatever his chances are, if you win the Bullsworth Trophy, you started out as a walk-on, you became a star player by the end of your career. You're an overachiever. You're doing whatever you need to improve. Now it's just a matter of whether he can take it to the next level. You know he's going to give it everything he's got, though.
And he played both ways. He played against USC. He played running back and linebacker. And he scored a touchdown at running back.
There you go.
There you go. I don't know who we lost. I guess we lost Mel, right? Okay.
Mel got some tech issues over there.
Yeah.
I think his grandson pulled the cord out or something.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Literally,
right,
I bet that's what happened.
Where are we at in this whole situation? Who's smoking? Who didn't? All right.
It's on me.
Yep. Okay.
So, did we also know that Bryce Boettcher is a professional baseball outfielder in the Houston Astros organization as well? So, yes, he had a breakout season in 2024 for baseball, but in his first two seasons in 2022 and 2023, he totaled 39 tackles, with 3 being for a loss, a sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in 26 games. After being selected in the 2024 MLB draft, he decided to return to play for the Ducks. And in week 3 of the 2024 season, Boettcher recorded 10 tackles as he helped the Ducks to win over the rival Oregon State. He was one of the leaders in tackles in 2024 and won the Burlsworth Trophy, which is awarded to the top walk-on player. And so he was awarded that to the top walk-on player in college football, and then he returned to the Ducks for the 2025 season as well.
So that's the story on Mr. Boettcher, right, Candy?
Yes.
Okay, let's continue to go. I got actually an interesting story that came up here, and it goes back to former Florida Atlantic University quarterback N'Kosi Perry, who's going to be playing his pro ball over with the Louisville Kings United Football League. There's a guy who I saw actually play at FAU, and he's a pretty good quarterback. So, Marvin, what are your thoughts about N'Kosi Perry getting an opportunity in the UFL, and maybe he's a guy that can eventually break through? The kid looks pretty good over in Boca.
Listen, Mel and I know very well, where that kid is, in his life right now. Coming out of college, he's looking for opportunities to continue playing football and get paid doing it. And everybody isn't going straight to the league. Some people have to take a detour. It is what it is. I'm thankful that these dudes have an opportunity such as the UFL, so they can continue playing ball, stay home, and I wish them the best. Listen, the UFL, it might not be what they want, but what it is opportunity. It's genuine, hardcore, real opportunity. And, I encourage him to go out there and make the best of it. So, yeah, he's coming out of a smaller school, obviously. Even though they are on the map, those guys go to the NFL at a FAU for sure. But, this is just another opportunity for him to extend his career. Keep playing. He'll make a little bit of change, emphasize little. But it's not about the UFL. It's about the opportunity within the UFL, using it as a stepping stone to get to the NFL. So, listen, good luck to that kid, man. And I wish him the very best, because that league is much more competitive than people think it is. You have so many players. You got to think, when teams go to training camp, they go with 100 guys. They cut half of them, literally. So all these dudes are looking for jobs, hopefully football jobs, whether it's CFL, UFL, or some of these opportunities in Europe, because there are some in Europe still. But I wish him the best, man. And hopefully he takes advantage of his opportunity. He'll be on national TV every week. That's a big deal. Good luck to this kid.
See, next week on Inside the Pigskin, what we're going to do is we're going to have a segment on a lot of the United Football League coaches. So I'll put some names out there, and there should be some familiar names that everybody can look for. They've made a lot of changes, of course, this year, but we'll bring you up to speed a little bit over there. So, Tommy, some thoughts about N'Kosi Perry?
Yeah, it's nice the guys have a chance in the United Football League. Kudos to all the people behind the United Football League and trying to make it work. I don't understand why the National Football League doesn't have some kind of, with all the money they make, they don't sponsor some kind of developmental league. I remember when they were pushing their European football, American football in Europe. Man, there was a lot of guys that developed from their chance to play over in Europe. I think Leroy Glover, who I knew back when he was in San Diego, he came out of the European League and he had a great NFL career. So I don't understand why the NFL doesn't spend more money giving guys a chance to develop.
The problem with NFL Europe, though, is too expensive. But I know where you're coming from. I have some friends that actually worked in NFL Europe. It was just a lot of money. I definitely believe that they should have had another developmental league. But, yeah, the UFL is turning out to be pretty good. Even though they've had to make some radical changes this year by moving some teams, and they're trying to do things the same. We'll spend some other time on it. So, all right. Well, when you're talking about N'Kosi Perry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm real big on guys. I've talked about it before. Guys need to get snaps, need to get live reps. The only way you're going to learn to drive, like I'm teaching a friend of mine, daughter, how to drive, and so the only way you're going to learn how to drive is to drive. I mean, you can't drive by watching somebody else drive. You can't learn to drive by watching somebody else drive. You have to drive. The only way to learn to play quarterback is to play quarterback. Get as many live reps as these guys can get, the better off they're going to be. Now, I was a part of the inaugural year of what became NFL Europe. It was the World League of American Football. I played in the inaugural year back in 1991 when I wanted to continue my football career. And one of the things I always said, and I never told Marvin this, but I think I told him how my fondness for Coach Robinson is. Coach Robinson was a teacher. He wasn't just a coach; he was a teacher. And see, a lot of these coaches aren't teaching anymore. Coach Robinson was a teacher. I'm a guy who just got cut by the Denver Broncos, and I tried out with the Los Angeles Rams. And in practice, he's teaching me something. He's telling me, for the longest time, when I was in Denver, the coach kept saying, "Hey, Mel, you got to play faster. You got to play faster." I'm like, "Man, I'm playing as fast as I can. What are you talking about?" Coach Robinson said the same thing. I said, "I am." He said, "No. Let me explain this to you." And then he broke it down and explained it to me. And then I started doing it. He said, "Okay, now you're playing faster. Now you understand." So, I mean, just that one little simple conversation changed my career. That one conversation in training camp changed my career. And so as much good quality teaching that these guys can get, the better off they're going to be, and the more chance for success that they have. And I believe that, the NFL, they're not going to spend any money. Why would they do it? They have a free developmental system, they believe, in college, but these guys aren't getting developed anymore because they're going to 2 or 3 schools. It's funny. You look at guys now. I used to always look at guys' bio to see where they went to school. Now you look in their bio, it'll be 3 or 4 schools in there, where they went. Guys are not staying at one place and then all of a sudden going to the league. They're going to 2 or 3 or 4 places before they end up getting drafted.
Yeah, that is so true, Mel. You really did hit another bullseye with that one. You talk about everybody transferring all over the place, and by the time that's the thing people have to understand. You're transferring all over the place. How are you going to get developed? We talk about in the NFL how many times where every time a head coach gets fired, a quarterback suffers, and do that 2 or 3 times. It's the same thing in college, like what Mel just alluded to. So go ahead. Great reference, Mel. All right, Candy, go ahead.
So N'Kosi Perry actually, like you guys have said, he actually played for 2 schools. He played for the University of Miami and then FAU. After that, he was undrafted in the NFL. So he actually signed with the Canadian Football League. He was released shortly thereafter. He then went to and was claimed by the Seattle Sea Dragons in the XFL. The Sea Dragons folded when the XFL and the USFL merged to create the United Football League. So then he went to the Indoor Football League. From there, he went to the European League of Football, which is where he was back in 2024. And then on February 25th of 2026, he signed with the Louisville Kings of the United Football League. So he's trying to get reps wherever he can to try and get back into get into the NFL. But so kudos to him for, keep going with the passion that you have and what he wants to do. There's a lot to be said about chasing your dreams.
Wish him well. All right, let's go to
sometime you got to go. At some point in time, you got to go get yourself a job. You just can't chase that dream forever. I think my first wife was like, you can't keep chasing this pipe dream. That's what she called it. Broke my heart, but she was just being honest. And at some point in time, man, you got to get yourself a job and take care of your family.
Great points. Yeah, I wish him well. Okay, let's go to the NFL. Malik Willis, signs with the Miami Dolphins. Marvin, some thoughts about the fit there?
This was a player out of Liberty who was really good in college, and I think it was Liberty, really good in college, and he got drafted to Tennessee. That was a disaster. Went to Green Bay, and then last year had an opportunity to get some reps. And when he played, he looked good. He did. He looked good. Now, it's a small sample size, but it got him like $60 million only in America, right? But listen, the Dolphins are in a rebuild, as evident of them letting go of their 2 receivers. Waddle got traded today, and they lost the Cheetah. He's gone. So they're in complete rebuild. With that, they found a way to get them a quarterback cheap, I'll say. I think he's a player. I don't know who's going to throw the ball to. That's the only thing. It's like, how do you bring a young guy in here who really hasn't had a ton of starting reps recently, and he's still young, and that your 2 top receivers from last year are now gone. And I think Miami lost her tight end as well. So good for him. He got paid. I mean, that's $60 million. That generational wealth right there. He can get the party started for his family. But in regards to being competitive, the Dolphins aren't going to be tough. Fortunately, they're in a division with the Jets, who are competitive either. The Bills may pose a problem, And who's the fourth team I'm missing in that
Oh,
division?
yeah.
Patriots.
New England. There you go, New England. So yeah, the AFC champion New England Patriots. So yeah, I think he's better than what they had last year. I think Tua's done. I don't think Tua has it anymore. So this was a decent pickup for the Dolphins, cheap, but again, who's around him? That matters.
Well, who's around him? We're going to find out in April, Marvin. When they go to the draft, they're going to have to get some people.
But Scotty, you don't want to rely on a rookie to help your.
Of course you don't. But what do you think they're going to have left? Nothing. You're right, Marvin. I'm saying you're right. A national, in front of a national audience, you're right. But this is the Miami Dolphins, Marvin. Look, even the Jets have better prospects going in next year than the Dolphins. Listen, man, they've been dysfunctional ever since Dave Wannstedt left. Really. And he ran Ricky Williams to the ground and he left. So the reality is, where are you going to get these people? Well, you already gave away a few other ones, right? So you might as well get them at the draft. You're lucky you might find a few undrafted free agents. I'm agreeing with you. But you got to get them someplace. You got contracts, right? Where are you going to get them? You going to get them from Canada?
They got to figure it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I'm agreeing with you. I'm going to lose my voice agreeing with you, but I'm going to do it anyway. Where are you going to get them? You already got rid of Waddle. We'll talk about him next week, okay? Because as the Dolphins drama continues, another one bites the dust, as they used to say in Detroit. All right, well, with that, when the Lions were winning, temporarily. All right, go back to the archives to get that one. All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about the Dolphins and Malik Willis?
Malik Willis has always shown that he's got talent when he was in Liberty. And so now he's got an opportunity to gain a lot of experience. It's going to come down to whether this new coach, new administration can put together a chance to show his skill. You can't expect too much out of him, but either way, it's a good opportunity for him.
Candy?
In the 4 years that he played in college, he passed for 5,176 yards. In the 5 years or the 4 years that he's been playing in the NFL, he's passed for 1,322 yards. Now, I get he's not been the starter. He backed up Jordan Love. He didn't have the greatest experience in Tennessee. Obviously, they brought Tannehill in there. But the Dolphins people are affectionately calling them Green Bay South, with so many coaches and players coming from Green Bay. But the Dolphins will also have over $165 million in dead money. According, so who else can they get? They no longer have Tua. They no longer have Tyreek. They no longer have Jaden Waddle. They don't have Jalen Ramsey. They don't have Micah Fitzpatrick and several others. I mean, I feel bad for Malik because I don't know who they're going to have, although Malik in Green Bay did what he could with who he had there. So I wish him well. But he's also a dual threat because he can run as well. So that does pose a problem for some of these defenses.
Okay. Nelson talked about Malik Willis. Over in Miami.
I watched Malik. Yeah, I watched him play in high school. He played at my daughter's school. They played him, and I seen him play in high school. And I was actually talking to my high school coach about him because he coached him. I'm happy this is getting the opportunity. I didn't get a chance to watch him much in college. The one thing I don't like is he left Auburn because he couldn't beat out Jared Stidham. But, maybe it was because he was young. I don't know. We know he put up big numbers at the school he went to, but he put up big numbers there with Liberty, with Hugh Freeze. So we know he's capable. And, he just needs, he's getting an opportunity. Now, he hasn't, the snaps that he had in Tennessee weren't very good. He got a few snaps in Green Bay. All it takes is one. A few people got really excited about what he was able to do. There's like I said, it's a quarterback needy league right now. me and Marvin go out there left-handed. If my knees were good, we could get a shot. I mean, because there's some teams out there that they're just desperate for quarterback, and what they had there last year just wasn't cutting it, in Tua. So, they paid the guy some money. They're excited about it. They're going to start over, and he's going to get an opportunity, and it's up to him to take advantage of that opportunity and turn it into something great.
Everybody talked about this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, let's talk about Travis Etienne. Signs a deal with the Saints to return to his home state of Louisiana. Gets a 4-year deal. He's going to get paid back in the Bayou country. I'm happy for Travis that he gets to play in New Orleans. Who knows he's going to Alvin Kamara, but Travis Etienne, if he stays healthy, he's a pretty good threat, and they're going to appreciate him in Louisiana. Marvin.
Yeah, he went back home, got him $50 million. I think the saddest part about it is Alvin Kamara, who's been a great player for the Saints. This probably means he's out the door, or at least definitely taking the back seat. But Travis was outstanding in Jacksonville. He had missed his first year. His last 4 years were productive. He's coming off a very good year where he was a key contributor in the Jags' historic 13-win season. And I think he ran for 1,000 yards this year, if I remember. I think he had a few hundred yards receiving as well. But no, he'll be a good player for the Saints. Really good for their second-year quarterback, Tyler Shuck. That's who really wins here, is their young quarterback. And I think that this is a guy who has some gas in the tank. Big, strong running back. I like him in blitz pickup game. I like him in the pass game, explosive. So, no, he's exactly what the Saints need. The Saints have been at the bottom of the NFL in yards per carry for like the last 4 years. They've been like the worst team. They've had the worst production from their running backs in the NFL. So he'll definitely contribute toward making that situation better. And again, the biggest thing is just for their second-year quarterback, he makes it less likely that Tyler Shaw goes through the sophomore slump. So, yeah, congratulations to ATN. Hopefully they can win some games.
Tommy?
Yeah, Etienne was such an explosive player in college and in the NFL. And I think the thing that's most interesting is both he and Tyler Shaw talked optimistically about how they could pair together. So I think there's a lot of optimism. They're encouraged about playing with each other, and that's a good building block to start with.
Mel?
Okay, I think the one thing that he did when he got introduced in New Orleans is he corrected everyone on the pronunciation of his last name. It's Achane.
Okay.
Remember that? He told everybody the correct pronunciation of his last name is Achane. And his college coaches, he kept telling his college coaches that, but they kept calling him ETN. He just went with it. But his correct pronunciation of his last name is Achane. Now, a young quarterback's best friend is a strong running game. Travis, he can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere in the field. He has that kind of speed. He has home run ability. His problem has been durability. I still question whether or not he's going to be durable enough. They're going to need more than just him, because if they're relying solely on him, they're going to be disappointed, because durability has been a problem for him. But again, he's in the Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson. He's in that category of, you give him the ball anywhere on the field, he can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere on the field. So it should be exciting for him. Saquon Barkley as well. Obviously, it's a new tool that the coach will have in his tool bag down there, and something for him to play around with and see if he can't duplicate the type of success there that he had in Philadelphia.
Candy?
He officially declared for the 2021 NFL Draft. Obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected him 25th overall. I think one of the interesting things is on May 15th, the Jaguars coach at the time was Urban Meyer. He announced that Aikman would spend the Jaguars minicamp as a wide receiver rather than a running back. So that means, and obviously he's been a running back in the league, but that means he really can do both, and probably at really good clips. So his quarterback now is going to get both a running back receiver good
Right.
threat that, has good yards. If you look at his rushing yards, 3,798 so far in the league, and his receiving yards are 1,338. So he can do both, which is always a good fallback for a quarterback that needs somebody that can do the dual threat there.
Well, he's going to get financial security because to play at home. Let's just hope he can stay healthy. That's what he has to do and make his home state proud. All right. We'll stay with the Saints for just a moment because the Saints are going to play in Paris versus the Cleveland Browns on October 25th, 2026. The venue is going to be called the Stade de France. And by the way, it's only fitting that New Orleans does play in France because you have the French Quarter, Marvin. French Quarter, the Saints playing in France. A match made in croissants.
Met my wife in the French Quarter, April 20th, 2000. We got married in the French Quarter, March 3rd, 2007. So the French Quarter is someplace that's very special to me, no doubt about it. Yeah, it makes sense, man. Louisiana was owned by the French. They're going to go to Paris. It's my wife and her family, they all speak French. It's a cute thing, you know what I mean? So, yeah, the European, this NFL to Europe connection has been very successful. Extremely successful, more so in England, London, but Paris for sure. It's an international city. They absolutely have an appetite and have enough room for some good old American football. I think it's strategic. I think it's smart to bring the Saints to Paris, and it wouldn't shock. Listen, I absolutely believe that NFL is pushing to have teams overseas. It's all about expansion. They're no different from any other company. They want to grow and grow, and it just makes sense. So I'll be tuned in. I'm excited for it. I think it's a good thing.
Tommy?
So the Louisiana Purchase was executed by President Thomas Jefferson when Napoleon was the dictator of France, and he had to pay off a lot of war debts. So they should be the mascots for the game, Napoleon and Thomas Jefferson. Maybe they can have a race around the field. If you remember the World Cup in Brazil a few years ago, there was a guy parading around dressed as Teddy Roosevelt, because Teddy Roosevelt had done a lot of exploring in Brazil on the Amazon. So
Right.
It's perfectly fitted to market it around Napoleon and Thomas Jefferson.
Mel?
I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm sitting there sending out text messages. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Who wants to repeat it for him?
Yeah, the Saints are going to play in France this year. They're going to play in Paris. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there you go.
I think that's exciting for the players. I mean, the couple times that I got to play, and back then it was just in the preseason. And the couple times that I got to play in Japan. I got to play in Berlin. It was exciting for me. I think it's exciting for the players. I mean, they have a lot more money now. They can travel at will now. Back then, we weren't making a whole lot of change, so it was nice to get a free trip to another country. So I think it's a great experience. You get to see a different part of the world, and a lot of the things that you read in your history books, you get an opportunity to see it with your own eyes, and realize how young America is versus how old Europe is, because all of our history obviously comes from Europe. We know this country, I guess, not necessarily founded, but I guess established 1776. So you look at 1776 and you go back over there, you can go even further in history. So I think it's good. I mean, it's a great opportunity. It's a good learning experience. It's something that they should look forward to and enjoy and take full advantage of it, because you never know, you may never get another opportunity to visit Europe.
Yeah, like I said before, the fact that the Saints are playing in Paris, French Quarter, it makes all too much sense. Glad to see it. All right, Candy.
So the stadium, its seating capacity is 80,698, makes it the largest stadium in France. The stadium is used by the French national football and rugby union teams for international competitions. It's the largest in Europe for athletic events, seating 77,083 in that configuration. During other events, the stadium's running track is mostly hidden underneath the grandstands. So I think it's really cool. Obviously, the NFL is doing really good jobs of marketing themselves and getting into all of these big international venues to create more awareness and the almighty dollar. Sell more, jerseys, get more fans involved. We all know that the international, what football is called international, is really soccer. So they're trying to really move this brand of American football into the international stage.
And we'll continue it because our featured topic of the night is the NFL's international series is getting bigger. And we'll continue on with that theme because 9 international NFL games in 2026, including Paris debut and Mexico City return. The league's international goals continue to target 16 games abroad per postseason. Marvin, they're looking for 16. They're at 9.
Yeah, again, this has been a huge success. I know just in the UK alone, they've had over 3 million. No, just in London, they've had over 3 million fans actually go to their stadium to play or to watch the teams play. I know Shad Khan, the Jacksonville owner, he has been adamant and consistent about having his team in London. Again, it's just London, Paris. I mean, you're talking about, huge international markets. This is nothing but New York and LA over in Europe. They absolutely have the appetite for NFL football. I think they've generated like $3 billion of business just in the UK alone. So this has been very successful, and there's no reason for it to stop at all. With the internet and the world just being smaller and everyone being a little bit closer, we're all sharing experiences. And people in Europe, I mean, you think about it, if you live in Europe, you don't even have to have an NFL team technically because they got NFL games in Europe, half the season. So, what a time to be in Europe, get some good old football, and then you get some American football. So, no, man, this has been a great venture for the NFL, great for those fans, and they're just growing the game that I love.
Hey, by the way, a special shout out to Eddie Prather. Hello, how you doing, Eddie? And Beesball, God bless USA safely and health to you all. Great. We appreciate y'all being in here as well. Daniel Barry Sport, thanks for popping in here as well. So a little bit of activity in the chat room. We'll turn it over to Tommy.
Excuse me. I've said this before, in baseball, they have all these developmental leagues and schools in the Caribbean. I don't know why the NFL doesn't go to Lagos, Nigeria and play a game. You look around college football and even in the NFL, there's a lot of Nigerians. They're pretty much natural football players, just like Samoans. You can't go to America Samoa to play a game because you don't have the population or the stadium. Lagos, Nigeria is a giant city. It's right on the coast. I guess it's mostly about tapping dollars from fans, but there's nothing wrong with tapping another talent pool. And Nigeria would be the place to go if you're going to follow the success of Caribbean baseball players. And in 1965 and 66, Bob Apiza, who was from American Samoa but grew up in Hawaii, he was the first Samoan All-American player for Michigan State. And since then, Samoans are coast to coast at every level of football. And Polynesian.
Mel?
Yeah, well, get to kind of piggyback on what Tom was talking about. They're trying to grow the market, not necessarily grow more players. I mean, yeah, we know that a lot of they're as far as athletes, we know there's a lot of athletes in Nigeria, but they're trying to increase eyeballs, viewership. So that's why I think they're trying to expand in Europe. And I think at some point in time, because of the size of the continent and the population, as it gets more developed in Africa, I think they will go to Africa. Probably, I don't know if it'll be Nigeria or if it'll be South Africa, but I don't know exactly remember what the question was because I forgot it. I was just kind of piggybacking on what Tom was saying. But if we're talking about, NFL and what they're trying to do as far as their marketing is concerned, they're trying to grow that market. They're trying to, we talked about it, it's a $22 billion industry. So all they're trying to do right now with these international games is just get more people interested. They kind of maxed out what they can do here nationally. And the way to grow that market now is to go international.
Well, no question about it. Yeah, we've been talking about along the last few weeks. Just so happens, no, the only thing you really basically missed out on is they're at 9 and their target is 16. That's it. Other than that, they're trending in the right direction for sure. Okay, Candy.
They started playing the international series back in 2007. The series has held games in the United Kingdom, Brazil, Germany, Ireland, Spain, as well as upcoming games Australia, France, Mexico. It wouldn't surprise me for them to keep going into different markets because they're growing the fan base and the money. It's a business, let's face it. It's a business, and they're trying to get as many people interested in the brand of NFL as they can.
Well, the bottom line is when they ultimately get that 18-game schedule, that's what's going to happen. They're going to continue to grow. It doesn't matter if it's win or win. Here's a really funny thing I'd like to bring out, that Carson Beck was actually booed at the combine. Does anybody feel sorry for him, Marvin? After all, Indiana do remember that, he did play against the Hoosiers, but guess what? They might as well give Carson a piece of their mind, but will they change if he gets drafted by the Colts?
Look, success comes with haters. It's part of the package, baby. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And it's just one of those deals. I mean, that shouldn't impact him at all. This guy, he's been around. He played at Georgia. He's been around these SEC schools, SEC stadiums. He's playing the national championship. I mean, he knows how to deal with that kind of stuff. That's just normal life for him. But like I said, when you're that popular, that young, you got so many people mad because he made like $6 to $10 million this past season. People got a lot of jealousy, a lot of reasons to hate him. But again, it could have been, like you said, just that Hoosier situation. But yeah, that just comes with it, Scotty. He all right. I don't know. I don't know that he's gonna be a great pro, but I'm sure he'll be able to fight through the booze.
Give me a break, Marvin. The guy got booed at the combine, not like a playing a game. Or I'll put it in your terms. He got booed while he had his tidy whities. Give me a break. I mean, anywhere else is different. I forgot what the thing tidy whities was until Candy brought it up to me. But I don't use tidy whities. I use the colored underwear now that you brought it up.
Look, anywhere you got oxygen, you got haters. Trust me, that's how it goes. Believe me.
Okay, I'm just saying, you got booed at the combine. It's a lighthearted topic. That's all. But I know Tommy's going to get a kick out of it because he already looks like he is.
Well, I think he's his own worst enemy. He was making all that money and bought a Lamborghini, and it got stolen, and he had a controversy with his girlfriends.
Right.
And he hadn't even played it down yet, I don't think. And then when they're getting ready for the national championship game, they ask him about college, and he laughs and says, "I graduated 2 years ago. I don't go to class." So, he's his own worst enemy. I think a lot of the booing has stemmed from those kind of comments.
Yeah, I don't think the Lamborghini. I don't think the Lamborghini helped his case. All right, Marvin, I'll give you that. Okay, the Lamborghini probably got him.
We're not ready to hear about college guys making $3-4 million and they've graduated and don't go to class. That's where the booing came from, I think.
Yeah, I think
come on, Tom.
You got to at least be going to school.
He did. He got a degree.
Yeah, well, so then he should have moved on to the NFL.
Different times, Tom.
Now. That's fine. That's why I like to throw Carson Beck in. At least if he's worth anything, he's worth a little bit of laughter anyways. All right, Mel's up for a moment. Candy, you can talk about it. When he comes back, you can talk about Carson getting booed at the combine. Really?
So let's face it. Where is the combine? In Indianapolis.
Right.
What happened after the national championship game? Carson Beck walked off the field, never shook Fernando Mendoza's hand. There are a lot of Indiana people thinking that was a snub on Fernando, and they decided they wanted to give it back to Carson Beck. How can they do that? They booed him every time he was throwing.
Now it makes sense. Okay, Candy puts it all like Mel, wherever you are, you want to talk about it, you do. If he's putting the grandkid to bed, I get it. Okay, with that said, Candy, now that Mel's coming back, you almost had a station break. What are your thoughts about Carson Beck getting booed over at the combine?
You said getting booed? I mean, I think it's childish. I mean, I know, I guess he did this, he didn't do the handshake or whatever. And, I mean, I think not going out there and, congratulating the other team, I think that's, poor sportsmanship on his part. Par for the course. That's what he should expect, I guess, especially being up there in Indiana. He should expect that. So, the easy thing to do is go, you taught that in Little League, when you get done, I don't care what level you're, I understand he was probably upset. He was probably disappointed. But at the end of the day, it's football. That's what you do. That's what the rules are. It's sportsmanship. Put your big boy jock strap on and you go across the field and, you do what you got to do.
Okay. All right, I like that. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals hiring Rams offensive coordinator Michael Flores. Their head coach Marvin is a good fit.
Say it's the Rams hiring
Michael Flores, head coach.
Cardinals.
No, Cardinals did. Cardinals hired.
I got you. Yeah, so the Cardinals. Listen, the Cardinals are in shambles. They've been in shambles. I don't look. Everybody goes through their stuff, man. Everybody has their issues. No, Lord knows I have. But, they had issues with the GM. He had some personal issues, and they drafted Kyler. Then they said Kyler just want to play video games. He don't want to read the playbook. They get rid of their franchise quarterback. At the end of the day, this is a league of quarterbacks. Leadership matters. My thoughts on the new head coach is he needs to find a quarterback. Period. Right. That's just what it is. Especially in their division. But they got to find a way to replace, Kyler Murray, who wasn't bad. I mean, listen, he was okay, good. He was, when he's playing, he is the most explosive player on the field. So they let that walk out the door. Obviously, they didn't want him to represent that organization. I wish the head coach nothing but the very best of luck. But in this league, you got to have players. You got to have dudes. You got to have guys. They do have some pieces in Arizona. They definitely have some pieces. But the biggest question for that head coach is who's under center. That's the number one question, because until he gets that figured out, he'll be the next guy out the door literally in a year and a half, because that's how the Cardinals roll. If you look at the last few head coaches that they've had, I mean, they don't have a great track record. They really don't. And I feel for these guys. He took the job. It's an NFL job. I get it. But if you can't draft right and you don't get the quarterback right, he'll be an assistant coach in 2 years, less than that, for someone else.
Tommy.
Well, yeah, that we know that he can coach an offense. The Rams had a great season this year. He's been with Sean McVay, so we know he knows all the X's and O's. Now it's a matter of, can he be a leader? Can he lead a room? Can he be the head coach? There's a big difference. Not everybody can do it. But one thing I do want to say about him is, his brother Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach. Both those guys went to Mount Pleasant High School. And then another famous coach from Mount Pleasant is Tom Crean, who was a longtime college coach. He was with Tom Izzo at Michigan State before he became a head coach. So Mount Pleasant's up there in central part of the Lower Peninsula, not about an hour east of Big Rapids, where I grew up. So for us, Mount Pleasant was the big city. And obviously they turn out a lot of it. Mount Pleasant has always had great high school athletes, and it's the home of Central Michigan University, and it's turning out coaches too.
Hey, Tom, isn't he Cream? That's the brother-in-law to the Harbaugh brothers, right?
Exactly. Yeah, he was coaching at Western Kentucky for Harbaugh's dad. I think that's how he met Harbaugh's sister.
Great stuff, Tommy. I like that.
Is he a basketball coach? He's a basketball coach, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tom Green, yes.
Yeah, he coached
He
at
was the
Georgia,
coach
right?
at Georgia. He was
Yeah.
Tom Izzo's assistant. He took Marquette to the Final Four. Then he went to Indiana. It didn't work out. Then he went to Georgia. Now you see him on TV as an analyst.
All right, so Mel, what are your thoughts about LaFleur taking the Cardinals job?
I mean, it's a tough gig. I mean, but all you want as a coach is an opportunity. Not all opportunities are equal. Obviously he's going in there behind the 8 ball right now because he does not have a quarterback, and they're going to have to figure out that situation. Arizona traditionally has not been a very good franchise, other than the few years when Kurt Warner was there and they got to the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Other than that, traditionally, it's been a struggling franchise pretty much all my life. My uncle played with the Cardinals, and they weren't very good back when they were in St. Louis. I remember I had an opportunity to go to I went to the Cardinals. I had an opportunity to sign with the Cardinals, and I chose not to for whatever reason. I think Gene Stallings was a coach then. I think that's who it was. I believe Gene Stallings was a coach back then.
He struggled out there.
But he's got an opportunity, so we'll see.
Andy?
Let me interject here. Gene Stallings, who as late as 1965, when he was the head coach at Texas A&M, in response to SMU signing Jerry Levias as the Southwest Conference's first black player, said, I don't think black kids and white kids can get along in a locker room. 1965.
Maybe that's why I didn't go there. I don't know. See, he was a coach in Alabama too, right?
He's in Alabama. He's a Bear Bryant guy, protege.
Yeah.
And we all know, Tommy, that's your specialty about being able to distinguish them. By the way, after we get done with this final topic, we go to the Shanahan report. Candy, you have the final word on what we were talking about here.
So, Mike LaFleur, he hasn't necessarily picked all the right franchises to work for. If you look at it, he worked for the Cleveland Browns. He worked for the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, he worked for San Francisco 49ers, but then he worked for the Jets as well, Rams, and now he's going to the Arizona Cardinals. Not exactly the best pedigree of teams to go to. But again, when you get a head coaching job, are you going to turn it down, or are you going to take it and try and run with it? He has to get the team around him, especially a quarterback, to actually do well. I know that I've seen pictures of him and, yes, Matt, his brother with Green Bay and their parents. But we'll see how he does as a head coach, because not all offensive coordinators make good head coaches. We've talked about that as well before on this show. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does.
All right. Well, you know what? Our final topic of the night goes to high school. And boy, this one's a tough one to digest. It really, really, truly is. A high school actually suspended their football program after being outscored. Get this, okay? 523 to nothing. 523 to nothing. And let me go across 5 games. Now, let me go over some of the losses. This is going to be mind-boggling because I looked at it. I had to get it up here. One of the losses was 69 to nothing, 72 to nothing, 46 to nothing, raising serious concerns about player safety and competitiveness. School officials ultimately decided to shut down the program. Lack of depth, resources, growing risk of injury, which obviously can happen in these sort of games. And obviously, I'm going to go over all the scores and everybody can comment on them. One of the losses was 59 to nothing to Asheboro. Western Guilford 50 to nothing. Southwest Guilford 37 to nothing. Southern Guilford 51 to nothing. Montgomery Central 55 to nothing. Central Davidson 69 to nothing. Ledford 46 to nothing. Randleman 42 to nothing. And Lexington Senior 42 to nothing. And to Andros 72 nothing. Can you believe that, Marvin? Not 1 point and all these. How much can a program take on all these players? Are these players going to need psychologists when this is over with?
Listen, they can use the same psychologist that UCLA had to use this year for their football team after that disastrous season. When you said that they lost 500 to nothing, I'm thinking, are these the Bruins?
523, Marvin. Five
that's a lot.
23 to nothing. That's a lot. I'm kidding.
Listen, so we
That's a
could talk about
that's a football score?
incompetence. We could talk about incompetence, but I would have to imagine that he just didn't have players. Like he must have had
Right.
some of them, some of those kids, and it's listen, it is demoralizing for a kid to lose like that. Youth sports are supposed to build people up, build you up. You play middle school, high school sports. It gives you some kind of foundation, helps you teach you understand teamwork and adversity. But man, when you get in your head beat in 50 to nothing week after week, that's just tough, man. I mean, again, I would have to imagine it's more about him just not having certain caliber athletes. But it's really a horrible story because, I love youth sports and I love how youth sports can impact, young people. And that doesn't sound like they had a good experience, man. So, yeah.
Oh, Marvin, I'm going to say this, okay? Horrible stories are part of journalism, and we have to bring them out there. But the reason I actually included this on the show tonight was mainly because of the player safety and the competitiveness aspect of how these things actually turn out. You know what I mean? And that's where the lopsided scores are attributed. But yeah, I mean, nobody likes to see anybody get their tail kicked 522 to zip for sure. But but you know what I think this does? It exposes the fact that there's so many other schools that could be bad, maybe not quite this bad, and maybe this one brings national attention to other schools around the country, and that's why it's become a national story, because it was national enough for hit my desk for sure. All right, Tommy, some thoughts.
Yeah, the school is High Point Central, which is near Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's a pretty good population area. So, and it says here they were 9-4 10 years ago. So the blame belongs with the school's administration in not providing the resources, not hiring the right coaches.
Yes.
Because if they're in that type of an area, there's athletes to find. You just got to have the right coaches. You got to support those coaches. In my career, I've written a lot about high school sports, and I remember there was a school named Fallbrook that was never really a power in San Diego.
Right.
And they got a new principal, and they hired this very successful coach from Fresno to come down. His name was Randy Blankenship. And the principal explained it to me this way: when you have a successful football program at your school, all the studies show that there's less fights on campus, there's better morale on campus, and so there's a reason to put the resources into a football program.
No question. Yeah, I mean, High Point Central, it's hard to believe they were 9-4 10 years ago. Great research, Tom. Nevertheless, it's still stories sometimes, Tommy, like I do in this business, you have to report the good, the bad, and the ugly, and this one definitely falls into the ugly. And that's what we do in this business. All right, Mel, thoughts about High Point Central and the fact that they have actually hit around 0.
Yeah, that was a football score. That was a football team that got beat that like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you score 500 points. That's a lot of points. I mean, you're scoring at will anytime you want. I mean, it's like, how many people did they have on the other team? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. I've never heard of that before. That's mind-boggling, to be honest with you. That's unbelievable.
Mind-boggling.
The other thing about those scores is nowadays in high school football you have the mercy rule, so it could have been worse.
Yeah, mind-boggling, demoralizing. Those are adjectives that would come to mind. Candy?
Yes, as Tom alluded to, the last time the Bison boasted a winning record was in 2014, 9-4. Since then, High Point Central has posted 11 straight 500 or below records, with 3 of those seasons being winless. Over the last 2 seasons, they have been outscored 1,062 to 19.
Wow.
So they've scored 19 points in the last 2 seasons. So yes, they're taking and yes, since Tom mentioned, also included that High Point Central played in 2025, every game triggered the running clock.
Wow, interesting stuff.
Every game. So yeah, they're taking a year off to try and rebuild.
Okay. Well, you know what? I have a running clock too, and that running clock says it's time for the Shanahan report. And Tom Shanahan, please give it to us.
Yeah, I don't really have anything new this week, but people can go to my site, tomshanahan.report. It's your source on college football integration. No source tells the more accurate story of what happened in college football integration in the 1950s and 1960s.
Well, Tommy will be on tomorrow night's edition of the Sports Exchange. Anyways, Tommy is a writer for the South Florida Tribune as well. We enjoy posting his columns up there and trying to get them up on social media when they get up there as well. So with that said, it's time for everybody to go around the horn and let everybody know how they get hold of them. We're going to start off with Marvin Powell. Go ahead, Marvin.
Yeah, I'm Marvin Powell III. You can reach me on my socials at Marvin on the mic.
Great stuff, Marvin. Great job tonight, Marvin. Always good to see you on this show, football. I love having you on Inside the Pigskin. And hopefully we might have another crew member next week. I'm working on a kid from the University of South Florida, and I'll introduce him to you next week when he comes on. He's a kid that I've trained in my system, is looking to get on the air. And I couldn't think of a better place to put him with us. He covers USF. Hopefully we'll be out there. I'll finalize it. And if he's on, you'll know who he is. He'll be your newest teammate. Okay. All right, Tommy.
My Twitter handle is Shanny4055, SHANNY 4055.
Beautiful. Okay, Mel.
Yeah, you can find me on all social media at Mel Farr Jr. It's all the social media, and follow what we have going on for the youth here in Georgia and also in Michigan at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Hey, Candy, take us the rest of the way, please.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the media. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also an audiobook out there, so wherever you get your audiobook, you can find it. There's a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there is a plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to us. What are you waiting for? Click it, like us, share us with all your friends and family, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Monday nights is baseball. Tuesday nights is football. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a triple header, so you got to check it out tomorrow night. And then it ends with the Sports Exchange. You never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks on that one. And then Thursday night, we have a double header. Check that out. But the other thing I will recommend everybody to go to our YouTube channel. We have other interviews from the Senior Bowl. Scott and I were at spring training these last 2 weeks, so we've got some good baseball content up there, including Scott's favorite, Don Mattingly. Did a new interview with him. That's up on the YouTube channel, so go check out our YouTube channel and don't miss those great interviews.
Scott, you got Donnie baseball?
That's it, Marvin. He's a good friend.
That's big time, man. That's big time.
I had a good time with old Don on Sunday over in Clearwater. Get this, we made a trip from Northport on Saturday night. It was a 6 o'clock game. We didn't get into Clearwater probably until about 11 or 12. We could barely get a room. We paid a lot of money, and I got Don the next day over in Clearwater. Don and I have been friends, Marvin, since the 80s. So I'll tell you what I might even do. I might even throw, just see if it makes you guys feel pretty good. I'm going to go out of character one of these times. I'm going to put a baseball quote on there from Don Mattingly. It'll be on your show. How do you like that, Marvin?
Hey, that's a hell of a brand. One of the greatest players ever. He should be in the Hall of Fame. I lived in New York during his prime years, and the Yankees were horrible. And I hate the fact that he retired 2 years before the Yankees went on their historic run of 5 World Series with Jeter. But man, he's one of the all-time great first basemen, and I've always loved how he carried himself. So for congratulations. That's a big deal.
Thank you, Marvin. Actually, Kenny, what we're going to do is one soundbite we're going to use now that Marvin brought it to my attention, is we're going to talk about. We'll think about it this way, Ken. We're going to talk about him being modest about him not making the Hall of Fame, and we'll plan on bringing that on next Tuesday's edition of Inside the Pigskin. Marvin, thanks for these tips, brother. I much appreciate it. That'll be on next Tuesday night as I continue to work on next week's agenda as well. We have a busy weekend with spring training the last week as well. And there you go, Marvin. Fresh picture with Don and I, the Motor City Madmouth in Clearwater. How do you like that, Marvin?
It's big time, man. That's awesome.
That's it, man. We've been friends forever. Don and I tell the guy who loves me, and he always told me, I appreciate you too. You just realize our friendship is all about Marvin. Friendship, my man. And when you got those kind of friends, it's a beautiful thing. And I have four great ones on here. I got Marvin, I got Tommy, I got Mel, I got Candy. Everybody, it's always a pleasure to work with who we have throughout the course of the week. So that does it for this edition of Inside the Pigskin. But there will be a baseball wrinkle thanks to Marvin Powell III and his suggestion to bring Mattingly on the show. So get ready, Marvin. You'll be able to download it and appreciate it and all that good stuff. Okay, my friend?
All right.
I want to tell everybody they did a great job tonight here on Inside the Pigskin, and I'll have a triple header tomorrow. So get ready to hear me not one, but 2 and 3 times tomorrow. I guarantee I won't be doing a whole lot during the day, but at night I will be working overtime. So that does it for us tonight. Everybody have a great night. See you on next Tuesday's edition of Inside the Pigskin. Enjoy the week and enjoy the program because Allie knows we got plenty of it. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Yeah, that too. I forgot about that. Unless it's the day that everybody can take off, I forget about it. I have green. It's on my ring. That's good enough. Happy St. Patrick's Day. All right, good night, everybody.